In 2012, cognitive psychologists ran this really fascinating experiment. They brought a group of people into a lab and gave them a series of these really complex, brain-draining puzzles to solve.
Right. Tasks that require just intense, sustained focus.
Exactly. And half the group, they just wore their normal everyday street clothes. But the other half were given standard white cotton lab coats to wear over their clothes. And when the results came in, the people wearing the white lab coats had made half as many errors.
Wow, half.
Half. Because, clothing isn't just fabric you put on your body. It's actually software for your brain.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon called enclothed cognition. The research shows that the very act of putting on a specific garment can fundamentally alter your attention, your focus, and even your confidence.
Like the clothes we wear actually dictate the way we think.
They really do. And that is exactly the foundation we're building on today. Welcome to this deep dive into the Dress for Success course.
We have a very specific mission for this discussion. We are talking directly to you, the listener, as you prepare to enter or maybe re-enter the professional workforce.
Right, whether you're prepping for a critical job interview, walking into a courtroom, or just, gearing up for your first day on a new job.
We want you to feel like you truly belong in any room you walk into. To help you prepare for that, we're synthesizing a specialized course module on foundational professional dress concepts.
And we're combining that practical advice with the academic research on the psychology of clothing, alongside some really fascinating historical context on tailoring.
And we're operating on one core, empowering premise here. Dressing well is a learnable skill. It is not a genetic gift.
Absolutely not. Nobody is born knowing how to tie a Windsor knot.
Right. Or what the phrase business casual actually means, because that is confusing for everyone. Clothing is simply a language with unwritten codes. Once you learn to read the room, you can answer it.
I love that. Which kind of brings us back to those lab coats.
Right.
Because before we talk about how your clothes change how other people perceive you, we really have to look at how they change you internally.
Why the language is even worth learning in the first place.
Exactly. If you're going to invest the energy into learning this new language of professional dress, you need to understand the mechanics of why it works.
Well, I'm actually familiar with the Stroop test, which is what they used in that 2012 study. It's the one that scrambles your selective attention by showing you the word red, but it's printed in blue ink.
Oh, yeah. And it forces you to name the color of the ink rather than reading the word. It's exhausting.
It's so frustrating. But wait, you're telling me the mere physical friction of a white cotton coat on a person's arms grounded their attention enough to cut their errors in half?
Well, no, it actually has nothing to do with the physical friction of the cotton. The enclosed cognition effect requires two things to happen simultaneously. First, yeah, you have to physically wear the clothes. Just second, and this is the most important part, you must understand the symbolic meaning of the garment.
Oh, I see. So it only works if you know what the uniform actually represents.
Precisely. The researchers, Hajo Adam and Adam Galinsky, they proved this by running a second variation of the experiment. They gave everyone the exact same white cotton coat,
Okay.
but they told one group, this is a doctor's coat, and they told the other group, this is a painter's smock.
Let me guess. The group who thought it was a painter's smock didn't get the brain boost.
They showed absolutely no improvement in focus or attention,
Wow.
even though they were wearing the exact same piece of fabric. The group who believed they were wearing a doctor's coat showed massive improvements in finding tiny differences in complex images, which is how they measure sustained attention.
This is a muscle memory for your mindset. Because society collectively associates a doctor's coat with, meticulous care, scientific rigor, extreme attention to detail, physically wearing it, triggers the brain to subconsciously adopt those exact traits.
Yes. And it doesn't just work on adults in laboratories either. The sources highlight something called the Batman effect in child psychology.
The Batman effect.
Yeah. Researchers found that young children will work significantly harder and for much longer on repetitive, boring tasks when they are dressed up as a positive character like Batman or Dora the Explorer.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
The costume is associated with strength and perseverance. So embodying the outfit helps the kid embody the persistence.
Exactly.
For anyone listening right now who is stepping back into the workforce, maybe feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome, this changes the whole paradigm.
It really does.
Dressing up for an interview isn't an exercise in vanity. It isn't just about trying to, impress a hiring manager. You are physically putting on a tool that does part of the cognitive work for you.
It is armor. It's armor that prepares your brain for the task at hand.
The challenge, of course, is that while a white lab coat might be standard issue in a hospital, stepping into a corporate office or an interview requires a completely different kind of armor,
Right, usually a tailored jacket or a professional suit.
which introduces a massive practical hurdle.
Yeah.
I mean, if wearing a sharp professional suit boosts my cognitive performance and signals competence to the room, my natural assumption is that I need to spend, $2,000 on designer clothes to get that effect.
And if you're just re-entering the workforce, you likely do not have that kind of disposable income to just drop on a wardrobe.
Exactly.
But you don't need it. The golden rule of this course, the mantra you should keep in mind every single time you look in a mirror, is this. A $100 suit that fits beats a $2,000 suit that doesn't.
Fit beats
Price. Every time. Fit is the ultimate equalizer. It puts a world-class professional look within reach on literally any budget.
Let's break down the mechanics of why that's true, because the sources detail the 3 tiers of how clothing is actually manufactured.
Sure.
The bottom tier is ready to wear or off the rack. This is mass-produced clothing cut to standard, symmetrical sizes based on a statistical average.
Right. You walk into a department store or a thrift shop, grab a size 40 regular, and just buy it as is. And the vast majority of global clothing is off the rack.
Okay, and the next tier up.
The next tier is made to measure, or MTM. This is where a manufacturer takes that standard factory pattern, but they run it through a computer to tweak the dimensions based on your specific body measurements before a laser cuts the fabric.
So it's a step up in customization and obviously price.
Yeah.
But how does that fundamentally differ from the top tier? Because the absolute pinnacle is bespoke tailoring, which originated on London's Savile Row.
Yeah.
If they're both taking your measurements, isn't bespoke just kind of a fancy historical marketing term?
Actually, there is a profound structural difference. In bespoke tailoring, there is no pre-existing computer pattern.
Wait, none at all.
None. A master tailor takes dozens of measurements and drafts a unique paper pattern entirely from scratch. They account for the fact that, say, your right shoulder might slope a half-inch lower than your left, or maybe your posture pitches forward.
Oh, so it's literally an architectural blueprint
Yeah.
built exclusively for your asymmetrical body.
Exactly. And furthermore, the internal construction is different. A high-end bespoke jacket has a skeleton inside it, usually made of a floating layer of horsehair canvas that molds to your body heat over time.
Wow.
Yeah, whereas an off-the-rack jacket usually just takes a stiff layer of interlining and physically glues it or fuses it to the wool just to save time. A bespoke suit can require upwards of 50 hours of meticulous hand labor.
Okay, but I'm struggling to buy the core premise then. If a billionaire in a boardroom is wearing a 50-hour Savile Row suit with a floating horsehair canvas that perfectly maps to their asymmetrical shoulders, they're going to look objectively better than someone wearing a $20 glued canvas jacket they bought off the rack at a thrift store.
Well,
I mean, the fabric quality and the structure alone give it away, right?
up close, sure. A textile expert will absolutely notice the difference in the drape of the wool. But from 5 feet away, sitting across an interview table, the human eye does not process thread count or canvas construction first. The human brain's visual cortex immediately scans for symmetry, proportion, and silhouette.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you can master the silhouette, you hack the viewer's perception.
And we achieve that perfect silhouette through a strategy the course calls fit hacking. Basically, buying something inexpensive and partnering with a local tailor to sculpt it to your proportions.
A tailor is your absolute secret weapon. For a fraction of the cost of a new suit, they can completely restructure how a garment interacts with your body. But you have to know what a tailor can fix and what is beyond their capability.
Which brings us to the golden rule of fit hacking. Buy for the shoulders, then tailor the rest.
Yes, that is the immovable boundary of tailoring. The shoulder seam must end exactly where your natural shoulder ends, not drooping down your bicep, which makes you look like a child wearing a parent's coat,
Right.
and not pinching up by your neck, which just restricts your movement.
But why is that the one thing a tailor can't fix? I mean, if they can hem pants, why can't they just bring the shoulder in an inch?
Because the shoulder and the armhole constitute the complex geometric foundation of the entire jacket. To change the shoulder width, a tailor has to completely detach the sleeves, deconstruct the chest, cut new armholes, and rebuild the garment from scratch.
Oh, so it's just prohibitively expensive.
Exactly. If the shoulders don't fit perfectly off the rack, put it back on the rack.
Okay, so if we get the shoulders right, What are the visual mechanics of the rest of the jacket? Let's walk the listener through the mirror checklist. You're standing in a thrift store, the shoulders are aligned. Next, you check the chest by buttoning the top button.
Right, and when you button that jacket, look closely at the fabric across your stomach. If you see a distinct X shape of wrinkles pulling tightly from the button outward, the jacket is too tight.
And it's not just that it's physically tight, it's what that tightness signals to the room. When you see an X on the chest, you're visually seeing the warp and weft of the woven fabric under intense physical strain.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, that signals to an interviewer that you are uncomfortable, out of control, or literally outgrowing your environment. You want the jacket to just skim the body?
Yeah.
You should be able to slide a flat hand smoothly between your chest and the button jacket.
Perfect. Moving down the checklist, we look at the overall length of the jacket. Now, the trend recently has been toward cropped, very short jackets.
Which look terrible on almost everyone.
They really do. Classic proportion dictates that if you let your arms hang down naturally by your sides and curl your fingers up at the hem, the bottom of the jacket should land roughly in the cradle of your curled fingers.
Which effectively ensures the jacket is long enough to cover your seat or your backside. Visually, this bisects the body into two balanced halves. The torso and the legs look proportionate, which satisfies the brain's craving for symmetry.
Exactly. Next up are the sleeves, which is where the vast majority of people make a really critical visual error. Your jacket sleeve should end slightly higher than your shirt sleeve. When your arms are resting, you should show about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of your shirt cuff peeking out past the dark jacket sleeve.
And that 1/4 inch of cuff isn't just some arbitrary stylistic rule. It actually serves a specific visual function. It anchors the arm.
Right.
Think about it. Human beings talk with our hands. We gesture to communicate. If you have a dark navy wool sleeve that just abruptly ends at your bare hand, it looks jarring.
It does.
A sliver of crisp white or light blue shirt cuff acts as a visual transition point. It smoothly guides the viewer's eye from the suit to your hands. It demonstrates a high level of intentionality.
It is a quiet, powerful signal of competence.
Yeah.
And the final item on the mirror checklist is the trousers, specifically focusing on the break. The break is the tailoring term for the small fold of fabric where the bottom of your trousers meets the top of your shoes.
Right, you want a slight break, just a single clean fold. What you're really trying to avoid is a puddle of fabric pooling around your ankles.
Yes. Pooling fabric instantly shatters the illusion of the silhouette. It signals that you didn't care enough to notice, or worse, that you borrowed someone else's clothes for the interview. A clean break shows you attended to every single detail.
So if you hit the mirror checklist, shoulders aligned, no strain across the chest, a sliver of shirt cuff showing, the jacket bisecting the body, and a clean break at the shoe, you are visually dominating the room, even if the total cost of the outfit was $50. You have successfully hacked the fit.
You've mastered how to make the clothes fit your physical body. But the remainder of this course focuses on how to make those perfectly tailored clothes fit the specific room you are walking into.
Because context matters.
This is so much. Wearing a flawless fit-hack tuxedo to a casual tech startup interview is still a failure of communication.
Yeah, that would be incredibly awkward. This is where we transition from the physical mechanics to the grammar of style. And the upcoming modules of the course are designed to teach you the why behind these unwritten rules, rather than just handing you a rigid list of demands.
Understanding the history and the function of the rules is what removes the anxiety of dressing up. Take, for example, the rule regarding the bottom button of a suit jacket.
Okay.
If you wear a standard 2-button suit, you are never supposed to button the bottom button. It is always left open.
Which is funny because if you don't know the history, you would logically assume a button is meant to be buttoned. Why else would it be sewn onto the garment?
Right. But the tradition actually traces back to King Edward VII of England. As he aged in the late 19th century, he gained a considerable amount of weight.
Okay.
His waistcoats and his jackets became too tight to comfortably button all the way down, particularly after a heavy meal. So purely for comfort, the king started leaving the bottom button undone.
And because he was the king, the ultimate influencer of his era, the members of the British court started mimicking him as a sign of respect. And it just morphed into a permanent tradition.
It did. Today, over a century later, tailors literally cut the front quarters of a suit jacket with a sweeping curve, operating on the assumption that the bottom button will remain open.
That's wild.
The modern garment is architecturally designed around a king's waistline from 100 years ago.
Which means if you force that bottom button closed today, You aren't just breaking an arbitrary etiquette rule. You are actively ruining the physical drape of the jacket, and you're placing strain on the fabric when you sit.
Exactly.
Knowing that history transforms the rule from something, snobby and exclusionary into something deeply practical,
Yeah.
you wear the jacket with total confidence because you actually understand its architecture.
And that is the exact approach the upcoming course modules will take. We'll explore the functional geometry of your wardrobe. For instance, in the shirting module, we don't just list collar types. We explore how a narrow point collar draws a viewer's eye vertically, which helps slim a wider face,
Interesting.
whereas a wide spread collar draws the eye horizontally, balancing out a narrow face.
The neckwear module operates on the exact same principle. For men, learning a classic four-in-hand knot isn't just about tradition. It provides a vertical arrow pointing straight up to your face. And for women, the module on silk scarves covers similar ground. A silk scarf is a brilliant tool to introduce texture and pattern right below the neckline. It acts as a visual focal point that keeps an interviewer's eyes anchored on your face while you speak.
We applied this logic to trousers as well, settling the debate between flat front and pleated pants and explaining the mechanics of belts versus suspenders.
Suspenders, or braces as they're sometimes called.
Yeah, they allow the trouser fabric to hang cleanly from the shoulders rather than being cinched at the waist. But wearing a belt and suspenders at the same time sends a subconscious signal of insecurity. It looks like you don't trust your own trousers to stay up.
You definitely don't want to send that signal. The course also provides a masterclass on building a highly versatile, interchangeable wardrobe using just 3 foundational colors: navy, gray, and white. If you stick to those, the contrast levels always work, and you minimize decision fatigue in the morning.
We also cover the permanent accessories, so things like grooming, skincare, visible tattoos, and dental care. These are the elements of your presentation that you carry into every single room, regardless of whether you're in a suit or a t-shirt.
And finally, we will decode the modern landscape of dress codes, which has become incredibly confusing. We explore how terms like business casual evolved. The sources point out that informal wear was common for centuries, but business casual as a corporate mandate actually originated in 1980 Silicon Valley.
Right, the tech boom.
Yeah, tech companies wanted to strip away the formality of the East Coast banking culture to emphasize pure, unfiltered efficiency over propriety. It completely rewired how the global workforce dresses.
It did. And learning to read those subtle environmental shifts, knowing when a creative agency requires a polished sneaker and a sweater versus when a law firm requires worsted wool and a tie, that is the key to signaling that you inherently belong in that specific culture.
So let's distill the core takeaways from today's deep dive to carry with you as you begin this course. First, professional style is a vocabulary. It's not an exclusive club. It is a learnable framework.
Second, fit reigns supreme over brand names or price tags. Master the mirror checklist, find a local tailor, buy for the shoulders, and sculpt the silhouette to your advantage.
Third, respect the cognitive power of your clothing. Enclosed cognition is real. The garments you choose in the morning literally act as software for your brain, sharpening your focus and lowering your anxiety.
And most importantly, remember the ultimate goal of this course. You already possess the skills, the resilience, and the absolute right to be in the professional rooms you are stepping into.
Absolutely.
The clothes do not make you worthy of the job. The clothes are merely the tool that helps you, and the people interviewing you realize your worth that much faster.
I love that. I want to leave you with one final, fascinating historical paradox to ponder as you start digging into the modules. We currently view the traditional tailored business suit as the ultimate symbol of formal, serious corporate authority.
It is the global standard for executive power.
But historically, the lounge suit, which is the tailoring term for standard suit, was invented in 19th century Britain as casual sportswear. It was country clothing.
Wow.
It was designed as a relaxed, rebellious alternative to the stiff, highly restrictive tailcoats that Victorian society mandated. It was essentially the sweatpants of the 1800s.
That is amazing. It started as comfort wear and morphed into the strictest corporate uniform on earth.
Which raises a really profound question about the future. In the 1980s, Silicon Valley used business casual to rebel against the suit. Today, tech billionaires wear plain t-shirts to board meetings.
Right.
As hyper-casual wear becomes the absolute norm everywhere, how might the definition of dressing for success flip again in our lifetimes? Will putting on a beautifully tailored suit eventually become the new symbol of counterculture rebellion?
It really forces us to examine whether we're using our clothing to blend into the herd or to intentionally stand apart from it.
Whatever happens to workplace culture in the future, right now, you have the foundational vocabulary. You are no longer an imposter hoping not to be noticed. You are equipped to read the room, and more importantly, you are ready to answer it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Now, go try on that jacket and check your shoulders.